I will never forget the sound of my daughter's scream. It wasn't the kind a scraped knee or a bad dream could cause. It was raw, primal. A sound that clawed through drywall and buried itself under my skin. When I burst through the hospital doors, I didn't see the sterile white walls or the nurses rushing by. All I saw was her, Lily, tiny, fragile, lying in a bed too big for her, a cast on her arm, her eyes wide with the kind of fear no child should ever know. "Daddy," she whispered, voice trembling. I dropped to my knees beside the bed. "Baby, what happened?" Her good hand reached for me, fingers clutching mine like she was trying to anchor herself to something safe. She hesitated. I saw it in her eyes first, a flicker of something. Not pain, fear. That's when I felt it. The room tilted slightly. My chest tightened. Then she walked in. Rebecca, my ex-wife. Her heels clicked against the tile floor like gunshots. Her designer coat was still buttoned even though we were indoors. That was Rebecca all over. Image over everything. "Mark," she said flatly, not looking at me but at Lily. "She fell off the swing. She'll be fine." I turned to Lily. Her lips parted as if she wanted to speak, but no sound came. She pulled her hand from mine. Not because she wanted to, because she was afraid. I recognized that fear. I'd seen it once before. Not in her. In Rebecca. Years ago, before the divorce, there were nights when she'd return home late, smelling of someone else's cologne. She'd stand at the kitchen counter, pouring herself a glass of wine like nothing had happened, avoiding my gaze. And then came the fights, sharp, venomous, ending with her slamming the door and disappearing into the night. I learned to recognize silence as a language. Now my daughter was speaking it fluently. I spent the next 30 minutes listening to a nurse explain Lily's fracture. "Clean break just above the wrist. It'll heal fine." But I wasn't listening. Not really. My mind replayed Lily's eyes, the way she stiffened when Rebecca touched her shoulder. And then he arrived. David. The new husband. The man who replaced me in my own daughter's life. He entered with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Clean-shaven. Expensive jacket. One hand on Rebecca's waist like he owned her. "Hey, champ," he said to Lily, voice honey-sweet, practiced. "Heard you had a little accident." Lily flinched. I rose slowly from the chair. "Accident, huh?" My voice was calm. "Come. The kind that comes right before something dangerous." David's grin widened, but there was a flicker, a tiny spark of something dark behind his pupils. "Kids, you know. Clumsy." "Lily doesn't fall off swings," I said. Rebecca stiffened. "Mark, don't start." I ignored her. "Lily." I crouched beside the bed. "Tell me what happened." Her lower lip trembled. She glanced at David. His hand, his perfectly manicured hand, tightened slightly on the railing of the bed. It was subtle, but I saw it, a threat disguised as posture. And then Lily whispered, "I fell." No, she didn't. She was lying to protect herself. That night after the hospital I couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet without her laughter bouncing off the walls. The wind rattled the window like it wanted in. I stared at the ceiling until the shadows started to move, and all I could see was David's smile. That predator's smile. I drove to Rebecca's house the next morning. The neighborhood looked exactly like she always wanted. Perfect lawns, identical mailboxes, Stepford calm. My stomach churned. She opened the door wearing silk pajamas and annoyance. "You can't just show up," she said. "Where's Lily?" "She's still asleep." "She's fine." I stepped inside without asking. She grabbed my arm. "Mark." "Don't," I snapped. I heard her scream. I saw the fear in her eyes. Her hand fell away like I'd burned her. "I know what you're implying," she said, her voice low, defensive. "And you're wrong." "Then let me talk to her. She needs rest. She needs her father." Something flickered in her expression then. Guilt. Fear. Or maybe just the memory of the night she came home smelling like another man and saw that same look in my eyes. When Lily finally came down for breakfast, David was sitting at the table, reading the paper like a damn movie cliché. His smile was already waiting for me. "Morning," he said. "Hey, sweetheart," I said to Lily. She climbed into her chair carefully, her cast bumping the table. She winced. Crouched again. "Hey, you okay?" She nodded, but her hand gripped the edge of her chair. "Lily," I whispered, just loud enough for her to hear. "You can tell me anything. Anything." David folded his paper. "Can we not do this now?" He didn't look at me when he said it. He looked at her. And that's when I saw it. The smallest movement, a flex of his jaw, a narrowing of the eyes. A silent don't. Lily's shoulders hunched in. A little girl shrinking inside her own skin. My blood went cold. I didn't confront him then. Not because I didn't want to. 'Cause I needed to be smart. If I exploded, I'd lose any chance to keep her safe. He was clever. Rebecca wouldn't believe me. She never did. Called a lawyer. I documented everything. Photos of the cast. Medical reports. Text. But that wasn't what broke me. What broke me was what happened 3 nights later. Lily called me at 11:47 p.m. I'll never forget the sound of her whispering through the phone. "Daddy, he said if I tell, he'll break the other one." I was already in the car before she finished the sentence. The front door was unlocked. That bastard thought he was untouchable. The house smelled like cinnamon candles, Rebecca's favorite, and something else. Cheap bourbon. I followed the sound of crying. Lily was in her room, curled on the floor, knees tucked against her chest. Her cast had new cracks. My pulse roared in my ears. David's footsteps thumped down the hall. I stood up slowly. "Mark," he said, arms out like we were old friends meeting at a bar. "You can't just." I hit him. Hard. The sound of his nose breaking was clean. Dark. Like a branch snapping. Rebecca screamed, running into the hallway. "What the hell are you doing? What am I doing?" My voice shook, low and dangerous. "Ask your husband what he's been doing to our daughter." Her eyes widened, not in denial, in shock. Not because she didn't believe me. Because she hadn't wanted to. David wiped the blood from his lip, still smiling that predator's smile. "She fell," he hissed. "No," Lily's voice broke through. "You pushed me. You said if I told Daddy you'd break the other one." The world went quiet. Rebecca's knees buckled. Cops came. The sirens painted the street red and blue. David screamed something about lawyers, about how I attacked him. But he was in cuffs before he could finish. Rebecca didn't look at me. Not at first. She sat on the porch, shaking, mascara streaking her cheeks like black veins. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Yes, you did," I said. "You just didn't want to." Her hand covered her mouth and she sobbed. Not just for what happened, but for every night she ignored the signs. I picked Lily up and carried her to my car. She buried her face into my chest and whispered, "I'm safe now." I didn't answer. My throat was too tight. But I held her. And for the first time in a long time I didn't care what Rebecca thought or what lawyers would say or how messy things would get. Because some betrayals you can't unsee. Some wounds don't bleed on the skin, they live in the silence. And silence is what almost broke my daughter. But not anymore.